All right, let's do this. We're diving into a world that, well, it's both fascinating and a little intimidating, to be honest.
You hit the nail on the head.
The world of professional athletes, but, not the glitz and glam we see on TV. We're going deeper.
Behind the scene.
Exactly. The real journey, the stuff they don't show in the highlight reels. What does it really take to reach that level?
It's a great question, and I think a lot of people have this romanticized view of what it means to be a pro athlete.
Yeah, we all see those inspiring stories about, athletes defying the odds. But I think this deep dive is going to give you a much clearer
I
picture.
think clearer is a good word for it.
Our guide for this is an article called, get this, The Hamster Wheel, Becoming a Professional Athlete.
Love the title.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it really sets the tone for what we're going to talk about. What I found so interesting about this piece is it's look at the systems, that are in place and how they really impact an aspiring athlete's chances.
Yeah, it's like this hidden structure that most people aren't even aware of.
Right. All right, so let's jump right in. The article starts by throwing out some pretty startling statistics.
They're eye-opening, to say the least.
Yeah, about the odds of actually going pro. I mean, we all know it's tough,
Yeah.
but seeing the actual numbers
It's a different story.
completely.
Hmm.
What were some of the numbers that stood out to you?
Well, you've got this tiny, and I mean tiny, percentage of high school athletes who actually get drafted.
Okay.
So in hockey, we're looking at 0.4%, roughly 1 in 250 kids.
Wow.
Baseball's a smidge better, 0.5%, so 1 in 200. Football, even tougher, 0.1%,
Good.
1 in 1,000.
Oh, my goodness.
And basketball, hold on to your hat, a minuscule 0.03%, 1 in 4,000.
Those are way lower than I ever imagined. I mean, it's like winning the lottery.
It's almost like winning the lottery multiple times in a row.
Right, but then you add years of intense training on top of that. It kind of makes you wonder, is the system itself flawed?
That's a good question. And the article actually digs into that. It talks about how in most sports, scouting and development works kind of like a factory.
A fact.
Yeah, like it's designed to pick out the most naturally gifted athletes.
So if you're not born with, exceptional athletic abilities, are you essentially out of the running?
Well, not necessarily. The article gives this great example of Carl Subban.
Oh, yeah. The father of, what, 3 NHL players?
That's right. PK, Malcolm, and Jordan. And his approach, well, let's just say it was unconventional.
I remember reading about that. He basically told his kids to avoid the typical path, right?
Yeah, like steering clear of all the popular hockey camps and specialized training that everyone else was doing.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Because that's what everyone's told to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he focused on building a solid foundation, strength, speed, skills. But he did it outside of that traditional system.
And all 3 of his sons made it to the NHL.
They did. And what's even more remarkable, they only went to rookie camp after they were already drafted.
That's wild. I mean, talk about trusting your gut, right? And not just blindly following what everyone else is doing.
Huge lesson there. And it goes way beyond sports, right? It's about recognizing when you're on that hamster wheel, as the article calls it.
The hamster wheel. I love that analogy.
Putting in the effort, but not getting the results because
Okay.
you're so focused on what everyone else is doing,
You're not thinking for yourself.
Exactly. So how do you break free from that?
Yeah.
The article talks about this phenomenon called, and it's kind of funny, entertainment training.
Entertainment training. Okay, now I'm intrigued,
Right. Because who doesn't love a little entertainment?
especially when it comes to working out. But I have a feeling this isn't what I'm thinking.
Probably not. In this context, entertainment training is more about the experience of the workout than the actual substance.
So, like, feeling like you're working hard, but not necessarily getting the results.
You got it. It's about quantity over quality, flash over substance. It's like, you're at the gym taking selfies instead of actually lifting weights.
Oh, I've totally seen that.
Yeah.
But it's deeper than that, right? This whole entertainment training thing.
Oh, yeah. It goes way beyond just not seeing results. You can
Mhm.
actually get injured.
Makes sense if you're not building strength and endurance the right way.
Exactly. And then there's burnout, pushing yourself constantly without proper rest and recovery.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation.
Perfect analogy. It might look good at first, but it won't last.
And speaking of foundations, there's this story in the article that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
This hockey player almost skipped a crucial training session because of, get this, a sore shoulder.
The sore shoulder incident, right?
Yeah. His mom even texted the coach, said he couldn't make it. But the coach, man, he was having none of it.
Tough love.
He told the mom, and I'm paraphrasing here, if your son can breathe, he needs to be at training.
Wow.
Right. So the kid shows up, probably dragging his feet the whole way. And guess what? His shoulder was fine.
No way!
Yeah. He ended up having a great training session, even lifting heavier than usual.
So the sore shoulder was all in his head.
Seems like it. His mind was trying to get him out of pushing himself.
That's incredible. I think it really speaks to the mental toughness that's needed not just in sports, but in anything challenging.
It's like recognizing when we're making excuses.
And then pushing through the discomfort, facing those fears head on.
But how do you actually develop that kind of mental toughness? It's easy to say, push through it, but actually doing it is a whole different story.
You're absolutely right. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, being willing to challenge yourself.
Both physically and mentally.
Exactly. But I think one of the biggest things is knowing why you're doing it.
Having a purpose.
Yeah, like a goal that really motivates you. That can make all the difference.
It's like if you're just going through the motions, it's easy to give up when things get tough. But if you're connected to that goal...
It becomes a driving force.
Totally. There's this, well, I wouldn't say inspiring, but definitely memorable quote from the article.
Let's hear it.
It says, and I quote, "If your dog dies, I don't care, you need to train."
Wow, that's pretty intense.
Right. It's definitely a stark way of putting it.
But it gets the point across.
It's about that level of commitment that's needed.
Prioritizing your goals, even when life throws curveballs.
But that level of dedication, it's a little scary, to be honest. Are you saying that to be successful, you have to, sacrifice everything else?
I wouldn't go that far. That quote is definitely meant to be provocative.
I get that.
But it's not about neglecting everything else in your life. It's more about finding that balance.
Being disciplined, but also taking care of yourself.
Exactly. It's not sustainable to just burn yourself out.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Pushing yourself, but knowing your limits. Being
Yeah.
strategic with your time and energy. That's something I've struggled with.
I think a lot of people do.
It's easy to get caught up in the hustle, forget to take care of yourself. But when I'm burnt out, forget it. I'm not productive at all.
It's like trying to run a car on an empty tank.
Exactly. So we've talked about the odds, avoiding the hamster wheel, the dangers of entertainment training, mental toughness, sacrifice. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's time to connect these ideas to a bigger picture. What can we learn from pro athletes that we can apply to, well, anything?
That's what I'm talking about. So we're not just talking about athletes here. We're talking about anyone with a big dream.
Exactly. Anyone who's striving for something. Because those same obstacles, those same challenges, they exist in every field.
So true. It doesn't matter if you're aiming for a promotion or writing a book or starting a business. The path to success is rarely a straight line.
There are always going to be setbacks.
Moments of self-doubt.
That pressure to just conform to what everyone else is doing.
And that's where the critical thinking comes in, right? Taking a step back and asking yourself, is this approach actually working? Are there other paths I could be exploring?
And that takes courage.
To challenge the status quo. You might get some pushback from people who are comfortable with the way things are.
It's definitely easier to just go with the flow.
But it's not always the best way.
Right. It requires self-awareness and a willingness to be uncomfortable.
Embrace the unknown.
But the rewards can be huge.
It's like you're breaking free from that predetermined path. You're becoming the architect of your own journey.
Exactly. You start making choices based on what truly resonates with you. Your values, your strengths, your ultimate vision.
And that's where the magic happens. So we've got this idea of avoiding the hamster wheel, but then there's this whole mental game too, right?
Oh, absolutely. The mindset piece is huge.
We talked about dedication, discipline, pushing through discomfort, but I feel like there's more to it than that.
You're right. There's another layer, and it's something we often overlook.
What's that?
The stories we tell ourselves.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, the beliefs we hold about our abilities, our worthiness, our potential. Those internal narratives, they can either empower us or hold us back.
So if you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough, or I'm not talented enough, or I don't deserve success, that becomes your reality.
In a way, yes. It's like you're carrying around these invisible weights.
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah, they prevent us from reaching our full potential.
This makes me think about my own experiences. There have definitely been times when, self-doubt crept in and I started questioning my abilities.
It happens to all of us. That inner critic can be pretty loud sometimes.
But you're saying we can change those stories.
We can. We can challenge those negative narratives and replace them with empowering beliefs.
How do we do that?
It takes conscious effort, self-reflection, a willingness to confront that inner critic.
So it's like a constant battle.
In a way, yes. But it's a battle worth fighting.
Because the payoff is huge.
It is. And that's why mentorship is so crucial. Having someone who believes in you, who sees your potential even when you don't.
It's like having a guide, right? A Sherpa who's been there before and can offer support and encouragement when you need it most.
I love that analogy. And it's not just about having someone to cheer you on. It's about learning from their experience.
Gaining insights from their mistakes, adopting the strategies that worked for them. So it's about who you learn from, not just who you know. This reminds me of something I read recently about embracing failure. I used to think of failure as this thing to be avoided at all costs.
Oh, I know that feeling.
But now I'm starting to see it as an opportunity for growth.
Absolutely. Failure is inevitable. It's part of the journey.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments of setbacks and disappointment that we learn the most valuable lessons.
It's not about whether you fall, it's about how you get back up, right? What you learn from that experience and how you apply it moving forward.
Exactly. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone.
I love that. So we've talked about mindset, mentorship, embracing failure. Is there anything else we need to consider on this journey?
I think there's one final piece that's crucial for success in any endeavor.
Okay, I'm listening.
Consistent action.
You've got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, right?
Exactly. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're facing obstacles and setbacks. It's about putting in the reps, the hours, and trusting that over time, those small, consistent efforts will compound into extraordinary results.
That's what they call the compound effect, right? The idea that small, consistent actions can lead to big results over time, like investing a small amount of money regularly. Over time, it grows exponentially.
Exactly. And it's the same with any skill, any habit, any goal you're pursuing. It's the daily grind, the unglamorous side of success that often gets overlooked. But it's the foundation upon which everything else is built.
It's like building a muscle. You don't see results overnight. It takes consistent effort, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, and then giving your body time to recover and rebuild.
And that same principle applies to any area of life. Whether you're building a business, writing a book, learning a new skill, or simply trying to improve your health. It's the consistent actions, the daily habits that determine your ultimate success.
So it's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent. It's about showing up consistently and trusting that those small efforts will add up over time. I love that.
It's a message that resonates deeply, and it goes far beyond the world of professional athletics. It's a reminder that success isn't solely about talent, luck, or even circumstances. It's about making that choice every single day to show up, to put in the work, and to never give up on the dreams that truly light you up.
That's powerful. So much of what we've been talking about today has really resonated with me, on a personal level. I'm thinking about those times when I let self-doubt get in the way, or those projects I started with so much enthusiasm and then, they just fizzled out because I didn't keep up that consistency.
It's something we all struggle with from time to time. The key is to recognize those patterns and then make a conscious effort to shift our mindset, our actions.
I'm curious, what's one thing you do consistently that's had a big impact on your own success?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's been daily reflection. I take a few minutes each morning to, review my goals, visualize what I want to accomplish, and set my intentions for the day. It helps me stay focused, stay motivated, even when things get challenging.
I love that. It's like taking a few minutes to check in with yourself, make sure you're still on track.
Exactly. It's a simple practice, but it's been incredibly powerful for me.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle and forget to take those moments for reflection. We're constantly bombarded with distractions, demands on our time. So creating that space for intention setting, I think, is huge.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about being intentional with our time, our energy, and making sure we're focusing on the things that truly matter.
This has been such a great conversation. We've covered so much ground, from the realities of professional sports to, the importance of mindset, mentorship, consistent action. But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I have one more question.
I'm all ears.
We've talked a lot about this idea of the hamster wheel, getting stuck in these routines and patterns that aren't serving us. But how do we actually identify those hamster wheels in our own lives? What are some signs that we might be on one without even realizing it?
That's a fantastic question, and I think it's one that deserves a lot of thought. We're going to dive deeper into that in the next part of our conversation.
Perfect. I'm ready to uncover those hidden hamster wheels and figure out how to break free. All right, so we're back and ready to wrap up this deep dive into, well, what it really takes to succeed, not just in sports, but in anything.
It's been quite a journey so far.
It has. We've explored the world of professional athletes, uncovered those hidden systems, talked about mindset, mentorship, even the power of embracing failure.
And we left off on this idea of hamster wheels.
Right. Those routines, those patterns, that might be holding us back without us even realizing it.
Sneaky little things.
They are. So how do we actually identify them in our own lives?
Well, I think it starts with paying attention to how you feel. Are there areas in your life where you feel stuck?
Stuck.
Yeah, or unfulfilled, or maybe you're just going through the motions. It could be a job, a relationship, even a daily habit.
I've been there. You're putting in all this effort, but not really moving forward.
Exactly. And sometimes those hamster wheels, they're disguised as good things.
Oh, I know what you mean. Like that entertainment training we talked about. Feels productive, but is it really?
Nope, not really. So sometimes it's about doing less.
Less.
Yeah, less but better.
Yeah.
Focusing on what truly matters.
Quality over quantity. So once we've identified those hamster wheels, how do we break free?
Well, I wouldn't say it's about making these huge overnight changes.
So no radical overhauls.
Not necessarily. It's more about those small, consistent steps in a new direction. Think of it like turning the rudder of a ship.
Just a few degrees.
Exactly. Over time, you'll end up on a totally different course. And remember that compound effect we talked about.
Small actions, big results.
Right. So it's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
Showing up consistently. Trusting the process. But mindset plays a big role here too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's easy to let fear hold us back.
Self-doubt.
Past experiences,
Yeah.
all those limiting
They're
beliefs.
sneaky. They whisper these little lies in our ear.
You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You don't deserve success.
But those are just thoughts. We don't have to believe them. We can choose to challenge them.
Replace them with something better.
More empowering. And that's where mentorship comes in. Having people around you who believe in you.
Who see your potential even when you don't.
Exactly. They're your cheering section, your advisors.
And don't forget to celebrate those wins along the way. It's so easy to get caught up in the pursuit of the next goal.
And forget to appreciate how far you've come.
So true. So just to recap our escape from the hamster wheel. We start with awareness, then we make a plan. Focus on quality over quantity. Challenge those limiting beliefs.
Seek out mentors and celebrate those victories, big and small. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
There will be bumps in the road.
Mm.
You might even be tempted to jump back on that hamster wheel.
But with every challenge you overcome, you get stronger.
More resilient, more confident in your ability to create a life you truly love.
This has been amazing. I feel like I've learned so much, not just about sports, but about myself, about how to keep moving forward.
Me too.
So to our listeners out there, I have a question for you. What hamster wheel are you ready to break free from?
What incredible journey are you about to embark on?
Think about that. We'll be back soon with another deep dive, but until then, stay curious and keep striving for those personal victories.
See you next time.
Thanks for joining us.